Thank you for the introduction. Good morning, everyone. The topic for my exhibit is LI-RADS version 2018 versus 2017 in determining categories for hepatic observations in high-risk patients. As we all know, LI-RADS, or Liver Imaging Reporting and Data System, is a comprehensive system for standardizing terminology, technique, interpretation, reporting, and data collection of liver imaging in high-risk patients. It is supported and endorsed by the American College of Radiology. In July 2018, the college released version 2018, which followed soon after 2017. And the reason why they did that was because they wanted to sort of simplify some definitions and also to aid in the integration of LI-RADS with the American Association in the Study of Liver Disease 2018 guidelines, which followed soon after the new version 2018 was released. The version 2018 actually has got very minor amendments compared to 2017, and we'll just have a quick look at that by looking at this figure. This is the diagnostic algorithm of version 2017 above and 2018 below. The minor amendments actually involved just this very, very small group of observations, which were the 10 to 19 millimeter observations that showed arterial phase hyperenhancement. In version 2017, if you look at this small little box here, this group, which is the LR5 observations, which were the ones that showed one major feature and were called LR5 because either they demonstrated growth or were seen on screening ultrasound. This small little group is now being excluded from the version 2018. So that's basically what happened in version 2018. This little box changed. Now, if you look at version 2018 and we look at the little box again, the 10 to 19 millimeter arterial phase hyperenhancing observations now with one additional major feature will be called LR5 if they demonstrate either non-peripheral washout or threshold growth. So this little box changed in version 2018. One more change happened in version 2018, and that was the simplification of definition of threshold growth. Threshold growth, based on version 2018, only applies to observations that demonstrate greater than 50% size increase in less than 6 months. So just one simple definition of threshold growth compared to a host of criteria that were laid out in version 2017. So what happened to these criteria? Well, these criteria are now called subthreshold growth, and they are included in ancillary features. So those were the two minor amendments that happened in version 2018. And this study aims to determine how the LI-RADS categories changed on application of version 2018 compared to 2017. I'll just move on to study design. This was an IRB approved single center retrospective observational study that was carried out over 4 years. CT liver scans that were done in high-risk patients over these 4 years were identified. The data was anonymized, and discrete recognizable observations were tabulated. These observations were then read by 2 independent observers who documented based on version 2017 criteria, who documented size of the observations, the major imaging features, and ancillary features, and determined final LI-RADS category based on the diagnostic algorithm, ancillary features, and tie-breaking rules. If there was any discrepancy between the 2 observers, a 3rd observer was called upon to determine final category. Subsequently, the 10 to 19 millimeter APHE observations and those that demonstrated threshold growth based on LI-RADS version 2018 that were affected by the minor amendments proposed in version 2018 were identified. These were then recategorized using the version 2018 criteria. So that was simple. And subsequently, statistical analysis was performed where a comparison was done between the 2 versions using weighted kappa and scatter plot. Let's move on to the results of the study. There were a total of 78 observations that were tabulated. 10 observations demonstrated threshold growth based on version 2017, and 17 observations fell in the 10 to 19 millimeter APHE category. 51 observations were not affected by the minor amendments. Let's take a quick look at this table. It's a very busy table, but I'm going to just sort of direct your attention to these small groups and these figures. So 10 demonstrated threshold growth based on 2017 criteria. As 2018 criteria were applied, 2 remained threshold, but 8 became subthreshold. So what happened to these 8? Only 1 of the 8 changed category from LI-RADS 5 to 4, and 7 remain unchanged. And I'm just going to show you an example of each one of these in a moment. Let's take a quick look at the second group, which were the 10 to 19 millimeter non-rim APHE observations. There were 17 of these, out of which only 2 changed category and 15 were unchanged. So let's see an example now of each of these. We'll start with this one, and this is basically, these are late arterial phase CT scans that are more than 6 months apart in the same patient. If you were to see this observation, which is a 14 millimeter non-rim arterial phase hyperenhancing observation, this observation was really, really tiny on this scan, which was performed more than 6 months ago. But unfortunately, because this is more than 6 months, this criteria of threshold growth on 2017 became sub-threshold on application of 2018 criteria. Now, this observation did not show washout and did not show a capsule, so it was actually a LI-RADS 4 observation based on the 2017 algorithm. However, it got downgraded to LI-RADS 3 as threshold growth became sub-threshold. However, on application of ancillary features favoring malignancy and tie-breaking rules, this went right back up to LI-RADS 4. So there was no change in final category. Here's another example. This one changed category. These are 3 arterial phase liver scans in the same patient. This was performed in January, this in May, and this in August of the same year. So this and this scan are more than 6 months apart. Now, if you were to see this observation in segment 7, which is a 23 millimeter arterial phase hyperenhancing observation with no washout or capsule, it did not change much from this scan, which was about 3 months ago, but it did change quite a bit compared to this scan, which was more than 6 months ago. So this became, this was threshold growth based on 2017, but became sub-threshold based on 2018 criteria. It was a LI-RADS 5 observation based on 2017 criteria, but became LI-RADS 4 based on 2018 as it lost the threshold growth major feature. And one more example. Now, this is an example of a 10 to 19 millimeter APHE observation, late arterial phase and portal venous phase scan in the same patient. 11 millimeter observation here in subcapsular segment 5. It is enhancing the arterial phase, washing out in the portal venous phase. This observation was LI-RADS 4 based on version 2017, but based on version 2018, it is a LI-RADS 5 observation. So minor changes. Based on the above, only 3 out of 78 observations included in the study showed a category change, so only 3.8%. And if you were to cast an eye on the scatter plot, which actually beautifully demonstrates what happened in this study, the vast majority of observations did not change. And we have just 3 outliers, so 3 out of 78 observations showed a category change.
So please go to the conclusion. The time has ended.
Yeah. So to conclude, amendments made recently to LI-RADS to integrate with the ASLD guidelines are minor, easy to apply, do not result in significant change in assigned category from LI-RADS version 2017. Thank you for your attention.